Hello everybody, welcome. I'm No02, and thank you for watching this video. This is the CHADvangelo deck. Why is Evangelo a Chad with this deck? It's because we have 2 is 1 and 1 is none. We have 2 primary weapons. I don't want to say that this is a bad card, but this is not really a good card. Secondary weapons are good. Secondary weapons already accomplish really great things for us. I won't go into too many of the details, but if we were to really analyze 2 is 1 versus having just a secondary weapon, you can very easily get a primary and a secondary and accomplish many tasks with it, have plenty of DPS, be a happy camper, be a well-balanced human being. 2 is 1 and 1 is none. What does it really give us? What does having a second primary really give us? What is our advantage over not having to run a secondary weapon? Well, it's not mobility, unless you're running a SMG. Really, I find that the only thing that we're really taking advantage of here is that the primary weapons all have more DPS than the secondary weapons, just sort of as standardly, you know, in the standard fashion. All the primary weapons have more DPS than the secondary. How much more? Really, not that much more. Really, not a tremendous amount. 100 points of DPS per magazine or something like that. Like it's not a huge deal. But we're a Chad, so we're squeezing out just a little bit of extra damage here, but really taking advantage of the fun of being able to run whatever 2 primaries. So with this deck, I recommend that you just run whatever you want, but you're looking for damage, right? The point of this deck is to deal damage in the long run here. So sniper rifle, shotgun, AK, SMG, whatever. Use whatever suits your fancy here. The thing that I want you to pay attention to is the corners that we're cutting. I usually like to have hazard pay, grenade slots, right? As well as some movement speed and extra stamina. Not enough to speed run, just enough so that we can run faster than sprinting zombies, because eventually those sprinting zombies start catching up to you. But because we're Evangelo, we're cutting those corners out. And because we're running DPS, we're pushing our grenade slot really far down. Because again, right, like we're the grenade. We're the person who does the knocking, you know what I'm saying? We still have hazard pay though. Don't give up your copper cards. You need money to heal and buy stuff and be a person, right? Just like in real life. Hazard pay, 2 is 1, 1 is none, energy drink, and admin reload. This is us dipping our toe into having a little bit extra mobility, right? Tiny bit of extra mobility. We really want it for the swap speed just to cancel out this card here. And then admin reload, because admin reload is fun and you could just keep constantly shooting bullets, etc. Blah, blah, blah. Now we pick up on your mark. We don't want to have to worry about bullets. So on your mark allows you to not have to worry about bullets. But on your mark also gives you swap speed and reload speed. 2 things that we need for admin reload, as well as helping us counter 2 is 1. And essentially here we just get the foundation of our kit going. We have the extra gun, we have admin reload, and we have ammo. The foundation has been set, the stage has been set for a beautiful DPS. We pick up an extra grenade pouch on 6 because of pipe cleaners. Super tight, super confined, so if you don't trust people on your team to throw pipe bombs at the correct time, you can have 2 pipe bombs. Or you can have 2 grenades if you're worried about tall boys and things like that. If no one on your team is running anything else that slightly resembles damage, you can do that as well. Power swap on 7, nothing particular here, but we're just getting our damage going here. Fun fact about power swap is that you can trigger power swap with the same weapon. Imagine you're shooting a sniper rifle. It's got 5 bullets. You go 5, 4, 3. At round 2, when you have 2 left in the gun, you enter the critical ammo range where your ammo turns red. Once you hit that fire your 3rd shot and you have 2 rounds left over, if you swap and then swap, as soon as you swap, power swap triggers. So if you just double tap, literally double tap your swap button, you'll just put your sniper rifle down, power swap will trigger, and your sniper rifle will come back up, and you can fire those 2 shots left in your sniper rifle with power swap immediately. Is it good? It's sort of a niche, nuanced thing where, like, oh, I know for a fact that I can kill this tall boy with these last two shots when they're buffed by power swap. It really doesn't matter unless you're out of ammo. If you're out of ammo and your secondary has literally no bullets in it, you can power swap with one gun and get the benefits of it. Just so you know. Card 8 is Shredder, right? 8 is trailer trash. Nothing in particular here. We're just damage. Damage, damage, damage. When it comes to being damage dealer or stacking healing effects, right? Those things, or a lot of the melee cards, those things sort of just accomplish the same thing, right? Being a support character in a lot of people's minds is just like EMT bag, and then antibag ointment, and poultice, and let's get medical professional. All those cards, for the most part, are sort of accomplishing the same thing. And when we have a bunch of cards that are doing the same thing, there's not a whole lot of justification needed as to why we're picking up a certain card in a certain slot, right? Because typically we take into consideration the context of the act that we're playing. But with damage, we're CHADvangelo. We don't need to worry about that, right? Card 9, Cold Brew Coffee. Swap speed, aim speed, use speed, reload speed. We use all of it. All of it's useful. Use speed will become useful on for Broken Bird, which is card 10. But we just want the swap speed really now, right? We're at 75%. We're at 50% swap speed now. Because again, being able to swap between the guns really quickly means that our DPS is sort of a flat line, and we can keep pumping out the lead, and everything's handy dandy fine and great, blah blah blah. Silver bullets? I'm sorry, grenade pouch for 10. Because who cares about running? Right, who cares about running? This deck is about was about forcing myself out of out of my comfort habits, essentially. Double grenade pouch, and I recommend that you run pipe bombs at this point. We're running pipe bombs at this point. We can't outrun the zombies, so let's just throw a pipe bomb, and that'll deal with them. Because our kit will pretty comfortably deal with mutations. At this point, at Broken Bird, you should have hopefully a blue gun and a green gun and some decent attachments on one of them, and should be doing somewhere around 1,000 damage per swap. That's the dream. That's the dream. Somewhere between 700 and 1,000 points of damage per swap. And what I mean by per swap is you unload your secondary, swap, unload your primary, and that damage, that total damage that you do between your two guns, should be somewhere around 700 to 1,000-ish points of damage, depending on what your weapons you've chosen, and etc. And of course, what range you're at, and things like that, and the rarity of your weapons, blah blah blah. Right? But basically, our kit, our deck allows us to destroy mutations rather easily, and our deck could allow us to deal with the Horde as well if we're running SMG and AR. Dealing with the Horde is, we have the tools to do that as well. But let's just cut out one of the variables here. We don't need to run. We throw a pipe bomb, we stand our ground, and we shred the tall boys and the mutations away. Card 11 is Heralds of the Worm. Now we just need more damage, right? We need damage on top of our damage because the end of Act 2 is a boss rush. Which is why I think if we were ever to consider which is the best act for admin reload, I think it's Act 2. The reality of it is, you're not always getting full value out of admin reload, right? The need to be able to constantly be shooting. How often do you really need to be constantly shooting? During a Horde event? Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes. Pretty rare is it that the Horde is so thick and so constant that you don't have at least a little bit of breath to reload. With admin reload, we don't have to worry about that. Right? But in particular for Act 2, when you get to the end, you have the Ogre for Heralds of the Worm Part 1, and then Part 2 has an Ogre and a Breaker, and then 2 more Breakers for Grave Danger. Being able to constantly mag dump a boss, that's one of those scenarios where admin reload comes into play, because we can literally swap back and forth 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 times easily, just mag dumping after mag dump after mag dump into a boss. So we can do that though with this deck, right? We have that consistent damage. So at this point we have silver bullets for the damage, Reckless Strategy for the weak spot damage. We have Power Swap as a damage type, Shredder as a damage type, Bullet Damage as a damage type, Weak Spot Damage now as a damage type. We have just all the damage types, so that they're all multiplicative with each other. So if you end up shooting anything in the weak spot, you're going to do a heck ton of damage. Confident Killer on 13 because it takes a lot of time to set up, right? On Grave Danger, you're buying a bunch of grenades, a bunch of flashbangs, some razor wire. You're running it back and forth between the safe room and the church, right? Piggybacking. But that takes a lot of time, and every couple of minutes a mutation is going to spawn. That's just how the game works. So while you're setting up, you're technically farming mutation kills, because as you're setting up, mutations are just spawning on occasion. Not only that, those 5 snitches you have to kill all count towards Confident Killer. So you're guaranteed 5 by the time the breaker shows up, and depending on how long it takes for you to set up, for the most part, you're going to be going into those hordes pretty close to your Confident Killer fulfilled, totally full at 15%. And not only that, killing the snitches and starting a horde will spawn a couple of mutations as well. So Confident Killer, you farm it before you even get started, and then once it does get started, you're maxed out super quickly. So kind of a cool, neat place to pick up Confident Killer. I like putting the card here just because I like to explain why. Because thinking in terms of like, oh, we have to set up on this map, that takes a lot of time. And while we're setting up, mutations show up. So might as well take advantage of that particular circumstance. Combat training, because if you're at this point and like reekers or wretches are still a problem, like a wretch showing up and puking into the back of the church is really hecking up your team and you die and you have to continue here, combat training will help take that edge off as far as allowing you to stumble the wretch or the reeker, and to stumble it faster. Faster, shooting it with less bullets will stumble it sooner, essentially, right? And of course, because we're a Chad, glass cannon. If things aren't working out, and you've gotten to card 15, which means you've burned a Hell Can Wait card at this point, and things aren't panning out as you dreamed it, it's probably because you don't have enough damage. So let's just get more damage in here. And the whole point of this deck is just damage. Act-2 is the best act, I think, for admin reload. We're squeezing out the tiniest bit of extra damage here by running 2 as 1. And that's about it. Oh, and we're taking advantage of the fact that we're Evangelo by skipping all of our movement cards, because we're Evangelo. He is a movement card. He is cross trainers. So that's the deck. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think of it, and I'll see you guys in the future.